Mitchell Johnson, everybody knows about your cricketing numbers. If not, I could just run a few by them. Mitchell Johnson, 10 years of terrorizing batters around the world, 256 international matches, 590 wickets, fourth highest ever for Australia across formats. Not to forget the cause for hundreds of shattered egos in the batting community. But I have to say this, there's one stat that matters to me, and I really appreciate. Maybe it doesn't appear in too many record books, maybe not a single record book, but that is Mitchell Johnson 100% genuine and real as a human being. And honestly, that was one of the main reasons I really wanted to do this, and for more people out there to hear from you.
Oh, thanks, mate. That sort of makes me blush a little bit. No, but I think, like you say, I think where our connections come from, we've spent a bit of time in the comms box around the presses and all that, and we've got along really well, and I think that connection will show throughout this podcast. And the other thing is we look pretty similar as well. You keep banging on about how much you look like me. Maybe if I grew my hair a little bit longer, I think, the more I look, I'm trying to look at both the screens at the moment. See your face and my face. But we're very, very similar. But no, look, very much like yourself, mate. Very genuine, a hardworking journalist. And you write books. You do plenty of good stuff. So I think this little partnership we have here is it's destiny, as some would say.
Oh, you're making me blush. Yeah, thank you for that. Like, I thought I was the one. It was my job to talk you up. But I have to say this. Of course, I saw you play your cricket. I covered your cricket as well over the years. But the moment when I really decided that I would love to do a podcast with you, it was back in 2019. We were in London, and you're doing a live show with our good friends Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon. And I just sat there listening to you, and honestly, I told myself, you know what? Someday I would love to. I've actually not. I would love to. I will, have a podcast. I will do a podcast with this man. And if you think about it, it's a classic modern day romantic story, right? It's happened. It's taken a while, but it's happened.
Yeah, I remember doing that, and I just remember it was probably at that point after my career where I really wanted to open up. I think through my career I was quite open most of the time. I went through my ups and downs with the media, but after sort of, I think it was coming back into the game, that 2013-14 series definitely helped my relationship with the media. It was probably just before that I sort of made a bit more of an effort to make those relationships with certain journalists, and then be able to go into those press conferences being open and honest as much as you could, being in a team environment. You didn't want to obviously give too much away, but you wanted to be as open and honest. So that's how I always tried to be, because I felt like that was always the best way to go about it. And I think people can see through a bit of the bullshit, but when I did that over in England, it was another sort of step up for me, because I was outside of the game, starting to realise that, I don't have to talk like a player. I can be, more open again, talk a little bit more about things that I liked, talk a bit about my career as well. I think that's one thing we've spoken about off air, on phone calls together, being able to talk about my career and my path, which is something you don't get to do when you're in your career. And even when you finish, you don't tend to, if you're doing commentary for the companies, whether it's TV or radio, you're not talking about your career. You're talking about those guys that are out there in the middle. And so I think it's a great opportunity to, that was a great opportunity in England to be able to start being really open. And I actually did start to think about doing podcasts around that time, like vaguely, like from my memories going back to then. And it's sort of built up over time. And it's, like I said, like you've sort of reached out to me, and you've been able to be a good friend and you always come up and say good day and made me feel comfortable. So the partnership again is, I think there's a lot to this, and I'm really looking forward to doing some good stuff with you.
I really do appreciate that. And apart from, and every time I have walked up to you and said, like today in a press box or in a media center, you've responded in kind and then like put me in some sort of MMA maneuver. You pick me up my feet, you pick me off my feet, thrown me to the ground. So that's been your way of
Oh, you're
saying hello.
exaggerating
That's
a
fine.
little
I
bit,
appreciate
but
it.
it's okay. Are you actually going to tell
Oh
the
well,
real story of what I said to you when we first met in England, or the
yeah,
first
very much
conversation?
so.
Did I tell you to
No,
get
we need
away?
No, we need
You or
to
you?
talk about that. And I was just looking out for you. Like, okay, this is how it went. So the show was done, and there were a lot of people who would come to watch the show. It was wonderful. Mitch was open and honest, and then maybe an hour or so later, as we all stood around near the bar, I thought he was being a bit too open and too honest in front of some random people, and I was
They
there
wouldn't remember anyway. They've
minding
had
my
a few drinks. It's all good.
Pretty much, I was hoping you would say that, not me. And I was just there minding my own business. But I did overhear some of the things you were saying, and I wanted. I don't know why, Mitch. I just felt like I had to protect you. You just looked like someone who needed some safeguarding at that point. So I just walked over to you and I said, "Hey, Mitch. I don't think you knew who I was. Might have seen me around here and there. I'm unmissable in a way, but I just said." Can you just come with me? I want to buy you a drink. I want to say something to you. And it's like, you went something along the lines of, who the fuck are you again? And even if you didn't use
What was
those
those
very
words?
words,
100% genuine and real were the words that you said. Yeah, so I was being 100% genuine.
I know. And look, I could easily have just walked away and said, you know what? Yeah, fair enough. You
Yeah,
can dig a hole for yourself, but I didn't. I didn't let you do that. I did stand by you, much to the chagrin of all those other people who were making the most of your honesty.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there was reports in some media circles the next day that we left together. I don't remember much about it, but
All right.
maybe we did. You never know.
I don't remember.
Yeah, clearly it wasn't memorable for either of us, but
Oh,
if we did leave together, great, good fun. And I'm glad that you did sort of explain the concept of this podcast. I mean, there are a lot of cricket podcasts out there,
yeah,
some really good ones where uh, you get to hear a lot about stories and what's happening in modern day cricket. But we both wanted this to be, if not different, a little bit more out there. I mean, it is the
yeah.
Mitch Johnson Show. That's why we're calling it that. It is about your life. It is about your journey. And just listening to you there, this also kind of gives you an opportunity to explore your own career, right? I mean, for a lot of times, you just ran in there with ball in hand and did what you were trained to do, did what you always wanted to do, don the baggy green, win
Yeah.
test matches for Australia. So I'm sure there were times when you yourself were sort of going through the motions. And I think it happens in every profession. There are times when, I've been doing this for 15 years, just writing on cricket. It's only when I started talking to others about writing did I realize, oh, this is the reason I do what I do. So I think this also gives you an opportunity to put yourself out there, understand a lot about your own self, and thereby take our listeners on a journey.
Yeah, well, it's a bit like the book behind you there, that I wrote. Yeah, I wrote it. No, not really. It was
Yeah.
a good friend, Peter, helped me with that. So, yeah, look, I was fairly open throughout that, but that just give this podcast. I think there's so much information that I want to share, um, and we've got some very, very good ideas about going forward with this as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to getting to get down to the business end of it all and talk about so many different things about the game. I mean, we'll talk about some current stuff as well. We'll go over if there's something good on and we're
Mm.
interested in. We'll talk about some of the fast bowlers as well. I think that was an idea that you've come up with that I really, really like. talk about like actions and things like that that are I think are quite interesting. A lot of people would like to hear. And yeah, again, just about my journey in general, and where it's got me to here now, and where my journey's going as well, with plenty of things coming up. So I'm actually playing cricket again coming up and not too I'm playing cricket in the Legends League, so it's
Mm.
it's going to be interesting. The back's a bit
Yeah,
sore actually.
there have been those scary clips of you bowling again. It doesn't look like you've lost even a semblance of your pace, to be honest.
It's all about perception. It's how you put the camera, where you place it, the angles, make a little bit of extra sound by hitting the back of the nets. So it's no, it's been good. Like, I've been enjoying when the opportunity came up to play again. I originally sort of thought no, and I always have, because bowling's not easy on the body, and it's a bit of an unnatural thing to do. And when you haven't bowled for a while, it's quite hard to build yourself back up. So for the batsman, it's not as hard. They just swing the bat and get big bats these days, and it goes over the boundary. So as a bowler, we need to. And I've had 6-7 weeks of training, bowling, just easing my way back into it. No, yeah, probably 6 weeks. Sorry, not 7 weeks. Just easing my way back into it, and the back's really sore. So I don't miss those days. My threshold of pain has probably changed a little bit, but the experience of playing again is going to be amazing. Playing against guys that I've played against over time. Some guys I haven't played against that were heroes of mine, and I get to play with some guys that I haven't played with as well. So, and I get to travel again back over to India, which is always a good place to travel to, and I always love the food there. So, and the people are very friendly to us. So, yeah, it's going to be a great experience. I think I look at the positives more than trying to look at negatives when it comes to something like this, which has always been hard for me to do. I'm always a guy that will say yes to something, and then I'll think of all the negatives. And one of the negatives, like I said, is my back being so sore, but it'll be worth it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, and when we are recording this is what, 2 days out from you traveling to India. You travel on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, and I've been asked if I was going to grow the mow as well. So I've got a bit of stubble and stuff going on now. I don't know if I will grow it though. This is me just being lazy, to be honest. That's why I've got this. But the mow, it's always a request that comes up, especially after that 13-14 series. Any sort of sponsorship stuff, it was like, oh, can you grow your mow? Like, I was like, nope. I understand why though. Like, it was sort of that iconic sort of mow, and the boys in the team were calling it the magic mow, and all sorts of things. So Jess, my wife, wasn't that impressed with it, although she was the one that said I should grow it for Movember.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good mow, but it was no Merv Hughes mow.
Hey, it worked. It worked. I mean, I'm sure we'll speak later, in later episodes in detail about that famous Ashes. What 9 years since it happened. We
Yeah.
have an anniversary coming up next year, 10 years. And yeah, I mean, that will always remain like that iconic image, right? Mitchell
Yeah.
Johnson with the Mo. Yeah, the Magic Mo, as you called it. Yeah. Maybe there's some branding opportunities there, Mitch. Magic Mo. I would be looking into
I
it.
think it's been done already with, like I said, I mean, David Boone and Merv Hughes. I mean, David Boone's was probably, I don't know who's more iconic, but
Hmm.
his was pretty good. It was pretty neat, and it was tidy. Merv's was like just big and like bushy. And then here was mine, this little horseshoe like looking thing. But it, like I said, it worked. I remember going over to South Africa after that 13-14 series, and there was a few young kids in the crowd that had the mustache. I don't know if they drew it on or if they had like had made it up, and that sort of that was quite nice. I never really expected that, and to go to a foreign country and to have kids looking up to me in that situation and wearing the mo was quite cool. It almost brought a tear to my eye.
I, obviously, and I'm sure there were many cricketers around the world, professional or otherwise, who ended up growing a more during that period, just with the hope that it would add a few yards of pace to their bowling. I don't think it worked out that way, but it's all thanks to you.
Another thing is, I've when I clean shave my face, I look a little bit younger, and it just looks a bit weird. So I remember looking back. I've seen some old footage of me when I first sort of was playing, and I remember, um, yeah, clean shaven and trying to do the stare down and get aggressive, and it just didn't work. Like even I was laughing at myself, going, "You serious? Like that's not scaring anyone." Anyway,
Yeah, well, we'll have plenty of time to discuss more. But look, speaking of looking menacing and looking like you're going to hurt someone, among the many things that Mitchell Johnson has done and is planning to do in the near future, is getting into the MMA ring. If anyone follows Mitch Johnson on Instagram, you'll see he does post a lot of MMA clips. But getting into the ring, the octagon, is it yourself?
well, it's a cage. I don't know if you can call it octagon, because I think that's the UFC own that. But
Mm,
um, I like to try different things, and I guess the MMA stuff is actually through a mate of mine, Ben Vickers, who owns Scrappy MMA in Perth, and he got me to train because I after doing the SAS show, I pretty much had about 2 years, or yeah, just under 2 years of not doing much training at all. Just sort of here and there, I'd go for a run or go to the gym, and I sort of backed off doing all that kind of stuff. And he just said to me, why don't you come and do some training with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And I kept saying, "Yeah, okay." And finally, I went down there and actually really enjoyed it. It was great to watch professional, because there's professional fighters there and there's some amateur fighters as well, and train with those guys for it's a 2 hour session. Each day they do 2 sessions a day, and the morning sessions with them is just full on. It's pretty amazing actually, and I wrote an article about it not too long ago, because one of the guys, Jack Della, has fought in the UFC this year and fought twice, won twice. Got another fight coming up at the end of the year. There's a few other guys that are trying to get into the contender series just before they, go off to hopefully fight, get picked by Dana White, to go into the UFC. So those kind of guys, that caliber, it makes me feel comfortable, because that's what I was used to with the professionalism of the cricketers that I was around all the time. So I get that sense of that hard work and that achievement and all those things. So the whole idea of it was, yeah, just to go do a bit of training and sort of get out of the house. So I'm not always busy. I've got a lot of time where I can spend and be in my own head, which isn't ideal. But
mm.
yeah, I get there and I get down there, I train and I enjoy it. So maybe get into the ring and do a MMA cage match in interclub kind of thing, but I don't know yet. I'll see. I've actually got a charity boxing match coming up against Soa the Holt, which is hasn't actually. I don't know if it's been announced yet. So hopefully I'm not overstepping the mark. But he's an absolute beast of a man, and he's done really well in his sport, and looking forward to doing that for charity as well, which is just a bit of a fun night, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm a
I
bit
did.
scared, to be honest, like with some things, mate. Like I'm not, like I said, it's all about perception, Like I might beat you up when I see you. That's
Thank you.
pretty easy to do, but um,
Hey.
no, I think it's more for it's those one of those things that I like to do. I like to do challenges, and I think like to test myself and take myself out of the comfort zone. Um, I mean, that's what I did throughout my career. I would take myself out of my comfort zone and put myself in those situations. Get the ball when it's the last over of a test match, and you need to win it, or last over of a one dayer where you're trying to save a few runs to win the match, or those kind of situations are what I quite enjoyed. So I try and put myself in different situations in life now, and this is one of them.
Yeah, I did Google Soar the Hulk after you mentioned it this morning, and uh, what is wrong with you? Why do you want to get into a ring with that guy?
Why not? I caught up with him, and such a nice guy, and made me feel at ease before he's going to punch my head in. But no, the whole concept of it is it's to get basically he's getting bosses, CEOs, high profile sort of people that may never have gone into the ring themselves without going through this process. Um, it's basically an amateur versus a pro fighter, and the pro has that control. They know how to fight. They know how to move around the ring. They know how to make it look good. So there's a bit more control to it. But I think the whole idea is to be able to feel that energy of walking out to a crowd. You've got your name on the back of your robe, your gloves on, because it will be a scary moment just going out there. You're about to go into a ring and get into a fight. So this just takes that little bit of an edge off it, I think. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, nervous about it as well. But like I said, it's there's the bigger picture as well. It's doing it for charities as well. And yeah, I've got to test myself all the time. So this is just one of those a new test for me. It was racing as well. Did a bit of racing for a while there in a F1000 a few years ago, and I had a season or two there with Arise Racing, and absolutely loved that. It was actually quite good. I came off the track a couple of times. One of the scariest moments actually was going along the straight at Barbagallo, and you're doing some fair clicks. You're going, I don't know what you do on that front straight, but you come up to the first corner, and just before I came up to that first corner, before the braking zone, the chain of the engine had broke because they're motorcycle engines in the cars, and the chain had broke. So then I had no power, and I'm trying to get on the brake and get into this corner, and I'm thinking I'm going to go straight into the sand, straight into a wall. But yeah, fortunately enough, I was able to get enough brake on to then turn the corner and got out of it. And then another time of coming down the back straight, doing I think it's close to 220, and you hit a little bit of a dip before you turn into a right-hander, and I've just went to put on my brakes, and you're braking probably 70. The good people can brake 50 meters, 60 meters out, 50 meters, I think. But I was probably 70, 80 meters braking. And as I went to brake, all of a sudden I just spun and went into the sand pit. And I went, oh my God, what happened there? And they found out there was coolant the hose had popped off, and the coolant had run on the back of the tires. And yeah, when I put the brakes on, I just slid. So that was pretty hectic, but all safe, all good.
You just love living on the edge, don't you? Yeah, this is yeah. I did read about your racing. I didn't know you were this close to kind of getting into harm's way.
Well, I was trying to take Ricardo's spot, so that was the next
Clearly.
best thing. But no, it's just I just like the experience and learning things like that. I think I do pick up these things quickly, but then I know with my cricket, if you want to go to the next level, how much you have to put in. You have to really dig deep and put in the hard work. So yeah, I get to that point where I'm really enjoying it, and sometimes I feel oh, maybe I should just push it a little bit further. But I am 41 this year. I know I'm not going to be making a career out of any of these kind of things, and I just got to do it for enjoyment and just to, I guess, get a bit of that adrenaline out.
Yeah, are these attempts, Mitch, to you spoke about not wanting to get into your own head too much.
Yep.
Are you trying to get out of it in a way, by testing yourself, pushing yourself, or at times over the line or the edge?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think it's just it makes me feel just like me when I'm doing these things. Sometimes I get quite nervous. I know, like I've got young kids, and I think about them a lot with when I'm doing these kind of things. But when I'm out there and I'm on the track, say for instance, if I'm doing racing, I'm just in the zone. If it's the MMA stuff, I'm just I'm there training. I'm just in that moment. So I think it's trying to stay in moments more than anything and be present. That's the big thing for me. And when I'm not doing anything, yeah, I tend to find that I'm not in the moment and a bit scrambled. So I think I just like to do those things just to, yeah, just keep active, keep busy, keep the mind ticking over. And when when I've got cricket season up, I can do some commentary stuff. Now doing a podcast, uh, do an article once a week as well with the Sunday Times here, and talk about sport. And yeah, it's probably the winter is the slowest part for me, and that's the hardest part because I do have more time in my own head. But yeah, I'm working through those kind of things and trying to get better. And yeah,
Yeah, I almost feel like pressurized to make this podcast a little more exciting now for you. Maybe we'll have like things falling on your head and you'll have to like dodge them.
oh no, I think like I said, I probably like in all honesty, about a year ago was that I really started to think about doing it, and I had my mate Ben at Scrappy. He asked me if I wanted to do something with him. I think it was almost 15, 16 months ago. He was keen to do some a podcast or something, but yeah, and I've had another young guy down the road at a local coffee shop. He asked if he could do some stuff with me, and so it sort of really has got me thinking. And yeah, it's sort of I think the timing now is right. I feel like yeah, I'm in a good place. I'm keen to get that information out there and talk and yeah, be a bit more open.
And you spoke about just uh, doing these things just so that your mind doesn't get scrambled, just putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
But you're also one of the most competitive people to ever played the sport. Like, so how do you kind of balance that out? Like, are you the types once you start doing it, you want to be the best? You finished what, eighth in your first race, that Formula 1001, and I at that point you spoke about how you want to give it a fair go. You wanted to compete in all eight races. Like, how do you find that balance between just doing stuff and wanting to be the best?
I'm only just getting sort of used to it now, to be honest. It's taken a while because, well, actually, I've been playing indoor cricket with my neighbour and a couple of mates, and it was only the last game we played. I started to get a bit more into it and a little bit more chirpy as well. And someone had said something, and I sort of bit back. So that competitiveness never goes away. It's just how you control it, I guess. I don't need to prove anything, but sometimes someone make a comment, and it's just like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna bite back here. Um, but that's just me. That's just the way I go about it. And as for competing with the racing stuff, like I don't know, like I said, when I first got out of cricket, I always felt like I was going to have another career in some sort of sport, and like that racing was the sort of first thing that came out. I think I came eighth, like you said, in that first race. There was three races in that day. The second race, I think I got down to fourth, and then I started fourth on the grid. And the top three races were um, quite fast. They were probably a maybe 2 seconds quicker, a second and a half quicker than me, and I tried to keep up. And I actually spun out on, I think it was turn four. It's quite a bendy sort of uphill turn, and I just like got tried to go too quick and keep up with them, and so that yeah, I guess the competitiveness never goes away, but it's just that's how you control it, and just knowing that I know that I'm not going to be racing in the Formula One. I just need to know that um, I just like to compete. It's as simple as that. I've played sport all my life, so I just like to compete and enjoy it just like everyone else. But
I,
it
I want
is
to make
hard at times when people uh, they do test you. There are people out there that will test, and it's like, yeah, it's you get a bit wound up, but it's you just got to remember, like, I had a great career, and I don't need to prove anything.
Yeah, on that, I'm really intrigued. I need to meet this neighbor of yours who thought like it's a good idea to rile Mitchell Johnson up during a game of indoor cricket.
Well, it was the opposition, but yeah, it's quite funny because I go in and play indoor. We're playing first division and second division, and we've just got into first division now. But I generally just bowl spin. I love bowling like left arm offies, and so I'll just bowl them and then bat. And I got a bit annoyed when this comment came across when I was batting, and I just like teed off like the last there. I just went, no, I'm gonna like smash it as hard as I can at the person that's closest to me. So yeah, my mindset, I do get a bit like crazy, but then I calm down and just play the game and remember why I'm there, just to enjoy it with my mates. You don't
And
believe me,
then,
do you?
no, I don't believe you at all. You
I
then
don't think I
ran in
believe
and took his
myself.
head off.
I don't know. It's hard. It is hard because I'm playing indoor, but because I am going on this tour as well for the Legends League, so I'm quite interested to see how competitive guys are there, being ex-professionals. So all different age sort of groups as well. Be interesting to see how guys take it. I've heard that there are some guys that are quite serious, but some that are just a bit more relaxed about it. I think I just want to go out there and just have fun. I'm going to try and swing the ball.
Have you been swinging it in the nets?
Yeah, with a two-piece. I actually had one of my friends get in the nets. He plays indoor as well, and he put his hand up. Yeah, I'll come and bat. I'll come and bat. And I was like, yeah, all right. So I came off a short run. I said, it's not like the indoor ball where it's a bit softer and like it doesn't come out as quick. He goes, yeah. He's played a bit of outdoor cricket himself, and
Yeah.
anyway, he goes along, and I first couple of balls like really swung. I bowled one with a two-piece just to see how he'd go, and then I just grabbed a four-piece. But it was fairly new still, the four-piece, so it was still swinging a little bit. And his eyes lit up a couple of times. He was just like, whoa, like, and I didn't bowl him a bounce or anything like that in the first session. I just wanted to see how he'd go. And then he came back for a second session. So I was like, okay, he's got confidence. And I thought, okay, well, I'll try and I'm going to bowl him a bouncer in this session, but I just sort of only wanted to be like short enough so it wasn't going to hit him and wide enough. And I bowled it, and it was like short and wide. It's probably a normal delivery for me, really, short and wide. But yeah, he sort of let it go, and I just said, I sort of explained it to him and how I was trying to set him up after that. And I actually swung one back in. It hit him on the inside of the leg, on the inside of the knee, and that swelled up quite a bit. But he enjoyed the experience. I think from my point of view, I don't understand that sometimes, that I get a bit nervous because that's been my profession. I'm like, I don't want to hurt anyone, but he's like going, I want to do this. This is awesome. Like, so yeah, I do get people that come along and they're like really keen to face me in the nets and things like that. And yeah, it was just great. I think a great experience in the end for both of us. I enjoyed it, had fun with my mate, and he got something out. He's bragging rights as well. Didn't get him out in the second time we played. So, but yeah, but I think when I get over to India, I think the adrenaline will get going, and yeah, I'll probably bowl a few bounces over there. I'll definitely
Yeah,
bowl a bouncer. Like we'll say definitely.
yeah. I mean, it's like them getting to face you is like you getting into the ring with Soa the Hulk, right? In a way, I mean, you
Yeah,
haven't yet.
yeah, yeah. I guess so. Yeah, it's like a thing I'm keen on doing, and I actually I used to look at those charity boxing matches and always thought, oh, maybe I'd do one. And a couple of the boys didn't mind hitting the mitts in the Australian team, like Brad Haddon didn't mind it. And he always said, oh, when you finish, you're going to do a boxing match. Like, oh, I don't know, I wouldn't mind, but you got to remember, like once you're in there, that's it. Like that person's going to try and take your head off or hit you in the guts, and they're not playing around. It's for real. So we'll see what happens on the night. Let's see how shit scared I am. We actually
I think
did
Adam.
a boxing thing. Sorry, we did a boxing thing in the SAS. They call it milling. So we had the headgear on, and you get the gloves. And so the milling is in the army, from what I believe, is there's no blocking, there's no dodging. It's to face a fear. So someone's like punching at you. So I took on Merrick Watts, which felt a little bit unfair, but he was quite determined. Just because of size-wise, I felt like it was a bit unfair. I should have taken on someone bigger. But the whole point of it was just to face fear. He got me a couple of good ones, but definitely got got myself a few good ones on him as well. So it definitely was fearful when I first put the gloves on. You got that adrenaline rush, and so I can just imagine when you're coming up against someone who's a professional fighter that knows what they're doing. It's going to be pretty hectic. Heart rate will be going.
Are you just this out of control adrenaline junkie? Do you think you are at some level? Like, you said you're 41, and like, yeah, when you're out there, like, it does kind of get the better of you.
No, I'm not an out of control junkie to adrenaline. I'm not a guy. I wouldn't jump on do like a base jump or something like that, or those Red Bull bat things, wings, whatever they call them. I don't know what they are, but they're pretty cool. But I'd never do anything like that. I think I'm a bit more calculated, I guess. Like I know that there was risk in the stuff that I've done. There's always risk in that. Anything that you do, and there's risks in playing cricket. Yeah, I mean that little ball hurts. So it's quite funny. And then talking to like other professional athletes that have been in like football, contact sports, have said that they stuff that, having that ball come at your head at 150 clicks, like, and it's like, well, you guys like run at each other and like hit each other, and so it's just amazing, like the mindset difference in individual or those kind of sports as well. But yeah, I think I'm a bit more controlled in what I decide that I want to do, and yeah, I do know the risk when I come to it.
Just thinking back, I think Adam Holyoke and Andrew Flintoff are two guys I can think of who. I think Adam Holyoke got into the boxing ring, and didn't Freddie Flintoff get into an MMA ring? I'm pretty sure he did. And
Other way
just
around.
based,
Holyoke is he? I think he's in Gold Coast.
yeah, he does. Yeah,
Yeah, he's got. I think he's. I don't know if he's got his own MMA gym, but I know he's been into it for a long time. And
that is right.
Flintoff went into a boxing ring and had a fight.
Oh yeah.
So I think I'd do that. I'd do like a charity one like that against another sportsman. I think I'd happily do that. There you go.
Are you
I'm not
thinking
calling
of?
anyone out, but I'd do it.
Are you? I mean,
Well,
let's make this podcast really accept. Who are you calling out, Mitch Johnson? Which one? Which English cricketer do you want to knock out in a boxing ring?
there'd be a few, and I'm sure they'd want to do it to me as well. Actually, I know Matt Pryor is quite a fiery guy. He wanted to take on Peter Siddle in the Perth Test match, the 13-14. I think it was the 13-14 series. I think Sid's given him a mouthful, and Pryor was like, well, they're walking off the field to go to lunch, and he goes, "I'll meet you at the car park at the back." So it got quite heated. But yeah, no one went to the back and had a fight, but it does get a bit emotional at times. I don't know who I'd take on. I'm not at that point. I don't think I'm really that fussed about it. Maybe I am. I
Just
don't know.
reading in your book in the
You keep changing my mind. You keep asking these good questions.
just reading in that wonderful book, Resilient, which is resting behind me, and which, to everybody listening, is very much still up for grabs on Amazon or wherever else you buy your books. I bought one myself just last week. There is a mention of you nearly getting into a fist fight with an English cricketer. So could we tempt Kevin Peterson into a ring? You think?
I don't know. The battle was gone. I'm over all that stuff. So I don't know. If it was for the right charity
Yeah,
or
yeah.
right
Oh, yeah, yeah.
thing, then I'd probably very much consider it. But I don't know. I don't. Also, don't want to disrespect the sport as well. That's where like I always have that in mind. And even when I started doing the training with the MMA guys, I felt a bit out of line going into their domain. Even though I was invited to go and do it, the first session I actually watched the guys train, and I guess I don't want to disrespect what they're doing by coming in and making a fool of myself. So yeah, but the guys were very welcoming once I started training with them and sort of opening up, and no, they're very good.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about that. Like, especially in Australia, I've seen many times you'll have like a footy player, by someone from the NRL, like walk into your dressing room, and maybe a coach brings him or her in. Did it feel the same? Like, it is your space, right? It's a cricket dressing room. How did you guys react to one of these other athletes walking in or getting into your space?
Um, no, coming in and like being, I never minded it. I always thought it was just an opportunity to speak to someone in a different sport, get a different view of things. I always thought it was a great opportunity. So I don't know why I think like that when I go into another space. I'm not sure what my thinking is behind that, but yeah, I've never had an issue with guys coming in, and I mean we've had players from different sports come and have a net session in the MCG. I think we've had a couple of at the Gabba. We've had a few of the rugby union players come when we were over in South Africa. I remember Durban. I think we had the New South Wales team. A few guys got padded up and had a bit of a role to them. So I think like when I sort of think of it that way and what it used to feel like for me being a player and having people come in and yeah, it was a great experience. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should think more like that. I know when I'm training with the boys and we sit down at the end, we'll discuss like a few things, and Ben will often say to me, "Oh, have you got anything to say, Mitch, on like what we did today, or like, we've got a fight coming up. What's your advice? Like, have you got any advice, like, of you going into a battle with 100,000 people at the MCG or 90,000 people, whatever it is? How do you like treat nerves and things like that?" So like I said, I've got plenty of information. It's just sometimes I probably doubt myself a little bit still, and don't want to like interfere too much. But I need to realise that I've earned my position, I guess, as a sportsman or a sportsman, and I'm able to give some good stuff. So whatever it may be, in different sports, like it's all relatable in a lot of ways, and I do enjoy speaking to the guys.
If you are a boxing promoter who does boxing promotions for charity, we even gave you like, two fights for the car. Matt Pryor v. Pete Siddle and Mitch Johnson v. Kevin Peterson. Like if I was out there, into any of that, I would just jump at it, like, get things going. Whether I found your conversation interesting or not, or whether you found me interesting or not, we laughed a lot, which I think I take uh, a lot of joy
I
from.
always
No,
laugh
I mean,
when I see you there.
that is true. Yeah, we are very happy people when we are with each other, even though we didn't get off to the best of beginnings.
You never know, hey? Right. I think that's us, hey? I think we're done. First episode.
We are, I know. How about that, Mitch? Like, yeah, we've spoken about this a lot, but now we've sat down and recorded one. And
Yeah,
like I said,
that's good to start. No. And for now, I can smell my dinner, so I need to go and eat my dinner.